Alright, so Director's Cut Coaching with Greg here. Sorry, give me 1 second, I gotta sign out of Skype, because I will get blown up. Alright, so recording back on. Alright, first question here from Jeff. In Nashville, Jimmy was saying that we needed to be careful about some of our settings in our PBNs. He referred to changing settings in taxonomies to no index or no follow. Can you explain this in a little more detail, please? Yes, Jeff. If you install the Yoast SEO plugin and you go to SEO and titles and metas, and then there's two spots. The first one is taxonomies. You want to no index follow categories and tags. It's the first two boxes there, and hit save. And then hit the other tab. It's under the same titles and metas, same thing. It's right next to taxonomies. Click on other, and then no index, no follow the archives tag. Alright, and then just save it. And that's what he was talking about there. Alright, from Kim. In Google's eyes, my money sites are linked to me. Same hosting account. So I need to make sure that each of my PBNs only link to one of my money sites. So one PBN site wouldn't link to two of my money sites, or do you set up your money site so that your PBN sites can link to more than one? I mean, I usually set them up so they can link to more than one. If your money sites are on the same hosting account, Kim, you got to be careful of that. Because, if you got a PBN, it's linking out to two different sites, both on the same IP, that can definitely be a red flag. Especially if you're doing it multiple times. But even one time can be a multiple flag, especially if it's a newer site. The newer the site, the more dangerous it is because there's no trust built yet. So, you got to be careful of that. From Lonnie. Is there a tool in the OMG Command Center that lets you see which keyword a site is ranking for? If not, what tool will give you that information? Yes, there is, Lonnie. It should be under keyword research and what ranks where. I'm pretty sure it's under keyword research, but it's called what ranks where. Alright, from Kim. Microsite Master says that my site is ranked #1 for my keyword in the US, yet I don't see it when I search for it. I'm in Canada and use HMA to put me in the US. I have had that happen before, Kim. It might just be something with their data centers. I would bring it to their support and see what they say. I'm actually having the same thing happen with a couple of my local terms where I set the location to the actual location of the local. Like, for example, if I set it to Nashville, Tennessee, because you can actually set the location in Microsite Masters now, and it's not showing up in Microsite Masters, but when I manually search it, it shows up. So that's actually something I'm going to check on with them as well. It might be a bug in their system right now, but I would go by what you're seeing, especially if you're searching from the U.S. Because, if you see it, you see it, And what I usually do is check on my desktop and my phone. That way you can kind of, back it up and make sure it's there with your phone as well. Okay. But yeah, I have noticed a little bit of differences with them as well. So I'm experiencing the same thing right now, Kim. Alright, from Kim here again. Do you lose your rankings if you change the text on your site? Say you switch out a large amount of text on a page for new text when running out sites. It really depends, Kim, on your, if you're really changing up your keyword density a ton. If you're totally, for example, let's say you were ranking for Nashville locksmiths, okay? And you had Nashville locksmiths somewhere on the page. If you change the content, then you no longer have Nashville locksmiths in the content. That could definitely affect your ranking, especially now, because there's a lot of changes going on with on page where in some cases you have to have the exact keyword on your page or you're not going to rank for it. So it really depends on how big the change is. Just take note of what keywords you have in your content and make sure you you put them in the new content. And then also just kind of keep track, keep note of your keyword density and try to do around the same, same titles and all that type of stuff, okay? Because, if you change it up big time, you definitely can see a change, especially with the changes going on with on page, so just be careful, make sure you don't make, huge changes where you just don't have keywords you had before in the content, and totally change up your title and all that. All right, from Lonnie. Can you use citations to rank a My City Guide niche page using the NAP of the site, or is it possible to have a separate NAP for a page? I'm pretty sure it's possible to have a separate NAP for a page, Lonnie, and you can just put that in your dashboard. They actually talked about this on Cotton's webinar. I don't know if it was the first or the second one, but I remember them talking about it because there's some people who have done that, and I'm pretty sure they just put the locations in the dashboard, the different locations, and then match up those locations to the page. But you can double check, on Cotton's webinar that we're in the Facebook group, something like that. All right, from Tommy. How to get a pipe after anchor text on the Google search page. I think you mean like in your title. There's a button right above the enter. Who asked this? Tommy. So if you type in, Greg, and then you want a pipe, it's right above the enter. You hold down shift and hit that button. That's a pipe what you're talking about, So I mean that you just put that as your title, and that's what would show up in Google search engines, in the search pages. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about. If not, just let me know. All right, from James, do you rank websites using Google My Maps? Yeah, I mean absolutely, James, and I've learned a ton about from Cotton and a ton more about it from Cotton and Stephen Floyd over the last couple months. But I mean, I've even done tests where there's sites that aren't in the Google My Maps. Oh, you're talking about My Maps from what Derek was showing. I've never actually used that before, Jay. I'm testing with it now. I saw what Derek was doing that, so I'm testing with it. So I'd never actually worked that in until just a few days ago. And James is talking about there's a trick that Derek showed on Cotton's first webinar. He showed it near the end of the webinar where you can get a do follow link from Google with Google My Maps. So if you want to check that out, check out that first webinar with Cotton. It'll be under Cotton's section, and Derek teaches it towards the end. Okay. But yeah, it looks pretty cool, James. So I am messing around with it now. Come on, slow computer. Hold on one second, I'm a little frozen. Alright, here we go. Alright, from Dustin. The Network Empire guys keep talking about building a siloed site, and then if you want to blog regularly, building a blog and attaching it to that site via a subdomain. Can you talk about the advantage of this and maybe how to implement it? I mean, they talk in pretty good detail about that, Dustin. When you have a site siloed, it's going to flow the link juice a lot better. Make sure you don't have drop downs on your homepage because that will bleed the page rank. But when you have a siloed site, it just takes less links because there's more flow to it, especially like when you're using DAS and stuff. DAS is kind of works the best with siloed sites and all that. But there's definitely local sites. Most of my local sites I don't silo just because it's you don't even need to. But most of my affiliate sites now I do silo. As far as the advantage of building a blog on a subdomain and just building content that way, I mean that's just going to build up your domain authority, especially if you set up Social Explosion with it and you have it going out to RSS feeds, and they talk about all that, Dustin. So I don't want to go too deep into that. They explain how to do that. But if you have a blog set up on a subdomain that's going out and you're putting up content, and then that's going out to your RSS is getting pulled from your social properties and it's being posted to your social properties, that's going to boost up your domain authority. It's the same thing like if you put a subdomain up and you set up Social Explosion with vCracken, that's going to boost your domain authority. That's very easy to do. Set up a subdomain, install vCracken and Social Explosion. Every time a post is made, Social Explosion is implemented into that post, and it's all automated. So, all right, from Tommy. Yeah, and that I showed you how to do that, Tommy. From Tim. How many keywords do you typically target when you have a local client? How many would you tell the client? How many do you focus on in your links? I mean, it really depends on the niche, Tim, and how close related. Like, for example, Nashville SEO, we mainly went after Nashville SEO. In the back of my mind, SEO Nashville, SEO in Nashville, Nashville search engine optimization. It really depends on the keyword and how much you can get out of it. And then we had pages where we could have went after, reputation management, page for web design, and all of that. So it just depends on the keyword and how far it can go and how you have your site set up. From Tina, do you have any updates to your sink or swim video, specifically how to structure your URLs when using exact match or partial match domains for local business? I mean, it's pretty much the same, Tina, where when you have an EMD, you don't want to repeat those keywords in the on the inner URLs. I mean, if it's a bigger keyword, for example, if you had like how to make money online.com, and then you wanted to, like, you could repeat money again on there because that's such a big keyword, but you wouldn't want to do like how to make money online.com slash how to make money online blogging. Okay, that's too big of a keyword to repeat again. Instead of doing that, you would just put, you already have how to make money online, your domain, that's already what your site's about, so you would just put blogging, okay, and then your title would be how to make money online blogging. So, I mean, it depends on, like, you can repeat keywords that are in your domain name if they're, like, big keywords, but specifically I would stay away from it. Like Nashville SEO, that's a 2-word keyword, and, when these changes came out, we actually had, like, Nashville web design, like that, and when these changes came about, I actually took out Nashville of the inner URLs, like Nashville Reputation Management, Nashville, because we already have that in the domain name. That's carrying a lot of weight for us, and all we need is web design. Like, we were overdoing it. So that's just an example there where you don't need to repeat. We already know our site's about Nashville from the domain, and you just got web design here, and you can take care of the rest in the title. Nashville web design. I do still use Link Juice Keeper, Tommy, but if the site doesn't have many inner pages that have links, then I just manually 301 or I don't use it at all. All right, there's a long question here from Dustin. I'm going to pause the recording really quick. I got to run to the bathroom. Sorry, guys. I drank a ton of water. I'm trying to get over this sickness still, but I'll be right back in about 2 minutes. I'll leave this question up in case you want to read it. Okay, start recording again. Alright, so Dustin, this morning I was using Yellow Pages to find clients, and I found a lawyer who was buying Yellow Pages ads in Houston, both on YP.com, and he's also on the cover of the Houston phone book. I did some research on the guy, and he's actually has a main office in Dallas. He's ranking number 1 for Dallas personal injury lawyer, but not ranking for any Houston terms. What would be the best way to start ranking this guy for Houston? Would you rank his website, lawfirmname.com, or build a specific Houston website? How do you handle the citations? He already has a ton of Dallas citations. Do I also build Houston citations? Assuming he has a physical address in Houston. Is there a problem in having the same name attached to different address and phone numbers? That's probably a good question for Cotton's webinar, Dustin, because it goes in detail on where citations go. But I mean, as far as if you should do a new website or not, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, if it's the same company name, you could do the same website and just check with Cotton on, double check on having citations or citations for a different company on the same site, because I'm pretty sure that you can just put it in the same Google dashboard and then just put the new stuff on the new page, like the Houston company on the Houston page, and then send citations to that Houston page. But just double check with Cotton on that, and I'll of course get confirmation on that as well, because I've never personally done more than one on a site, so I'm not totally sure about that, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. It's just never something I tried to do. Do you use SendWire? If so, how do you recommend using it so it is most effective? I've never used SendWire, Tina. From Tommy, I saw Blog Network Manager on one of your videos. Where do you get it? I actually don't even use Blog Network Manager, Tommy, anymore. I just use spreadsheets, so I wouldn't worry about that. I used the Blog Network Manager for a little bit, then I just found I like spreadsheets better. Alright, from Dustin, this is a follow-up to the previous question, but what is the method for ranking clients both in the 7-pack and organic when they have the same business in multiple city locations? Yeah, Dustin, I would check on that with Cotton. Again, I can tell you what I think is the right answer, what I'm pretty sure is, but I want to make sure you definitely get the right answer. From Dustin, do you do much siloing of your client sites? Is this something you concern yourself with? Most of my clients have no website to start with, so I can silo the site how I want it, but now that I'm looking at pre-existing sites, I'm wondering, is it worth the trouble to learn how to rearrange an existing site? Honestly, if you have an existing site, I wouldn't worry about rearranging it. That can definitely cause problems. You got to really know what you're doing if you're going to be rearranging an existing site into a silo. There's definitely problems that can arise from that. Um, but I mean, I don't do a ton of siloing in local. Usually it's not. I mean, it can give you more power, but usually it's just not needed. I mean, local's pretty easy. Network Empire will tell you to silo still, just because they're going to tell you there's no reason not to, and that's neither. I don't think either answer is wrong. It's just, I mean, local is pretty easy. I mean, it's you send citations. You make sure they're done correctly. If you need to, you start using some DAS to your citations or some PBNs to them. Boost up your citations and the money site. Then you can start doing DAS to the money site, PBNs to the money. I mean, yeah, and all those links can be more powerful with the siloing, but sometimes with a local site, to me, it's almost like there's not enough content for it. I guess you can say, but you could talk to Network Empire about that, like for a niche that doesn't have much content. Like for example, Nashville SEO. If I had silos for like web design, reputation management, I mean, I guess you can go into detail on them, but most local sites just have one page on each of those topics, anyways. I mean, because when you have a silo, the point is you want to have at least 5 supporting pages for each silo. So, for example, on web design, I'll have to come up with 5 pieces of content for web design. I mean, which I guess is definitely doable, but um, I, I don't know. For me, I just usually don't silo local. Maybe that will change, but usually I don't. All right, from Brad, you said that we need the exact keyword on the page. How do we balance this with over optimization? Also, if the exact keyword is in the title tag, does that count as on the page? Um, it really depends on the niche and the amount of searches the term gets, Brad. And also, I think local is definitely different than affiliate from what I see. And then it also depends if you have an EMD or not. If most of the time, if the keyword's in the title, I would try to put it in the content as well. Um, I'm doing like a new EMD now, and like for like let's say you have like Nashville SEO, right? We have NashvilleSEO.org. You wouldn't want to keep. One of the things I'm saying is you wouldn't want to keep repeating Nashville SEO. Like you don't even really need to mention that maybe once or twice. You have 1,000 word content. Maybe mention it once. And one of the other things I'm saying is like with company websites like that, like local sites, I used to just kind of do like a generic article. Like I would put up a generic article on SEO on the home page, and it's almost like that's not working as well because they're looking for certain words like our company, our service, our clients, stuff like that. Whereas if you put up a generic article and it's like, SEO is blah, 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 and it's just like definitions and stuff, that's not working as well for local sites anymore. It's barely working at all for my testing. But when I set up a site where it's like, our company, and I actually set it up as a company page, like a real company, then that's working a whole lot better. That's a little off topic, but I think it's important to bring up. But I mean, as far as exact keywords, as long as you have the keyword once on the page, you're good. You don't really need to go over that, unless if it's a more competitive keyword, like in like affiliate, then you might want to mention it a few times, have it in like an H1 tag and all that. But you can kind of play with that pretty easily. But I mean, for local, especially if you have an EMD, you don't want to put it in the content that much. Maybe once, like in the title, and then maybe once in the content. Um, and then if you have like a branded, you can probably get away with having a little more in the content, but put in LSI, like, Nashville SEO, SEO in Nashville, Nashville search engine optimization, stuff like that. But I mean, really, right now it seems like it's safer to go on the low end. And if you can kind of play with maybe adding it one more time, bumping it up, and also remember you can look at your competition. I mean, the OMG Command Center, you can even do it manually if you want, but they have a tool where you can bring up all the competition that's on the first page, and they'll tell you the keyword density for the keywords you're looking at. For example, the first ranked website, they have it twice in their content. They have 1,000 words, so they're at whatever that percentage is. I guess it'd be 0.2%. They'll tell you like if they have the keyword in an H1 tag, if they have it in the domain, if they have it in the URL, if they have it in the title. So that's also something smart that you can do that I do a lot is look at who's on the first page and how if they're using it in their content and how much they are. You know what I mean? So that's always something you can look at as well. All right, from Lorraine. Just heard you mention PBN, so I apologize if you've covered this. If you have, just tell me. I'll wait for the replay. However, if not, when choosing a host for your money site, what is the criteria to stick to? What makes a money site host different or better than a PBN host? I mean, you just want to make sure that it's pretty quick to load, Lorraine. Make sure they have a good track record with load time. I mean, for most money sites, honestly, I'll go with like HostGator or Host9. What are those other two? They were really good. I have people set them up for me, so I'm going mind blank. Traffic Planet has been really quick to load sites. There was one more. I think Liquid Web is pretty good. But I mean, I just use services like that. Like I don't worry a ton about that as long as the site's loading quickly. And most of those more well-known sites, they do a good job. So. As far as PBNs, I mean, it's more about IPs for me. I don't worry a ton about the rest. From Kim, how do you go about ranking a website for several keywords if there is very little content on the site? Do each of the keywords have to be somewhere on the site? I mean, again, it depends on the niche about keywords being on the site, and there's like weird changes going on with that I'm messing around with right now. Just weird things going on with sites where it's like, you'll be ranking for Nashville SEO services, but like number one, but then Nashville SEO company, you're nowhere to be found, even if the anchor text is the same and it's on the site. So I'm still looking into certain stuff with that, but it seems like most of the time the keywords have to be somewhere on the site. Not necessarily. It depends on the niche and again, competition and all that, but they don't necessarily have to be in chronological order. For like Nashville SEO, maybe you could say Nashville somewhere, then SEO somewhere else on the page. But in a lot of cases, having the keywords in chronological order in Nashville SEO is going to help you rank for that. If the keywords are nowhere on the page, you're going to have a lot of trouble ranking for it. Remember, you can even put the keywords in like in an image alt tag, something like that, and that does count, as I talked about in an update video. All right, from Tim. You mentioned on a Facebook thread that you were sending links from DNX domains to social properties. You simply doing a 301. Anything else to be cautious of? I mean, just Tim, what happened was part of my blog network got de-indexed, and the sites they were linking to went down in rankings, totally fell off, and the social properties either stayed in place or went up. And I was just kind of explaining how when you have sites like that with higher domain authority, they just get away with more rules, and that's that's part of kind of DAS is you can kind of use, especially for like beginners, if you're scared about not being like knowing totally what to look for in PBNs or any of that, you can kind of use Web 2.0s as a filter, send PBNs to the Web 2.0, and that's going to help rank your money site like crazy. You know what I mean? So I was just more talking about like those Web 2.0s having different rules where it's like I had de-indexed domains, penalized domains pointing at these social properties, but the domain authority is so high that they stayed ranked or they even rose, which is crazy. So I wasn't doing 301s, Tim. They were just direct links, like just like a blog, just like you would any blog network post. All right, from Dustin, I'm always worried that I'm not doing enough to make my PBNs look real, or not doing enough to make them able to pass manual. Don't worry about that, Dustin. I wouldn't worry about that, honestly. What do you do to make your PBNs look real? Not much. I mean, you can put up a header and all that stuff, but I mean, Dustin, if they're manually reviewing a PBN, they're gonna know it's a PBN. And all my research I've done, when people get de-indexed and all that, I've seen people with the most realistic looking websites for PBNs get de-indexed, and I've seen people with horrible looking PBNs. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with the look. I don't think they're even really manually reviewing that. Um, I think they put it in the algorithm. For example, this last wave came from people who had links coming from all the same host, and that's what took them out. Because I mean, I did research on people that I know that run huge blog networks, and there was a guy that had just totally crap PBNs, but he had all his PBNs on different hosts, and he stayed up. I know another guy who had PBNs that were totally real looking. I mean, social properties connected and everything, and he got wiped out because he was sending links all from the same host. So, I wouldn't even worry about the manual review part. I'm not saying make it look horrible and don't put any time into it. You can make it look decent if you want. Connect social properties can be a great thing to do for trust. But I think it's pretty much all algorithmic where they're de-indexing PBNs. Also, is it the case that we are just hoping that they don't get a manual review, so we do all the Spider Spanker stuff and other stuff you teach, but we kind of just accept that it does get a manual review and we're basically busted? I mean, Splitter Spanker is just more to block your links so your competitors can't see it. And I already explained about the manual review. I don't think that they even really do those much, unless it's in extreme cases. I mean, look, take a look at my network. I had my network front and center for 2 years, and it never got taken out. I mean, come on. That I had a huge example site making hundreds of thousands of dollars, powered exclusively by a blog network, well known throughout the SEO community, and my network stayed in place. I mean, if manual reviews were that common, that network would have been taken out way, way sooner than it was. And the reason it was taken out was because of the hosting problem. I had links coming all from the same host, not because of a manual review. And I proved that with my research. So honestly, I wouldn't worry about manual reviews. I mean, just look at my network holding strong for 2 years in the public spotlight. All right, from Jeff, are you familiar with IFTTT? If so, what are your thoughts about sending links from an IFTTT property and a recipe to your money site? I know a little bit about it, Jeff, but I haven't used it really, so I can't say too much about it. I've heard some good things about it, but I haven't used it. Whoops. Alright, from Dustin, when trying to rank a local business, many times I get the chance to actually start from scratch and buy a new domain. If I'm trying to rank a law firm, do you think it's better to go branded, smithjohnson.com, or partially MD, divorce lawyer Dallas, or does it really not matter? I mean, that's a question that people are going to give you different answers on. It, with an EMD, it's like they go back and forth with how much power they give them. I mean, the cool thing about an EMD is you can use a lot of what we teach, like just send in citations, do DAS, social properties, and all that stuff. And it's going to move up that, like, you don't need too much keyword optimized anchor text to the site. And it's just going to move up with that domain authority moving up because of the identifier in the EMD. Whereas if you have like smithjohnson.com, you're going to want to make sure that you mix in more keyword optimized anchor text. You know, whether you go out and do an PBN directly to the site, or you do, you know, like a Web 2.0 to the site and then PBNs to the Web 2.0. I mean, both are going to work. It's just you're going to approach them differently with the anchor text. Like, you're not going to be as aggressive with an EMD. You're going to do more branded stuff and just kind of let the EMD do the work for you. Whereas if you have smithjohnson.com, you're going to want to work in more keyword optimized anchor text to help Google identify what the site's about. Because, I mean, they know what the site's about. If it's your domain name, that's the biggest identifying factor. Like, if you put keywords in your domain name, they know that's what your site's about, okay? And you can just kind of move it up by boosting the domain authority. You don't even really need too much keyword optimized anchor text usually. Whereas again, for this one, you probably want to help them identify more through some keyword optimized anchor text, like, you know, put in, you know, Dallas divorce lawyer, stuff like that. And then of course also do the rest of it, you know, branded links and all that. But just the difference is less keyword optimized for the EMDs, more keyword optimized for the brand, and it just depends which way you want to go. I mean, when you do an EMD right, though, they're so powerful. Like, you know, if, for example, for Nashville SEO, you know, if you build up the domain authority for that and do it right, no one's going to outrank. It's just like Best Buy. You know, BestBuy.com, no one's going to outrank BestBuy.com for Best Buy. They have the EMD, they have the brand, their domain authority is high. Like, when you have an EMD where you get the domain authority up, you're not going to outrank it. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, because they don't want people being outranked for their own brand, and that's why EMDs work so well when you do them correctly. All right, from Kim, what would you do if your client's site is over optimized with a keyword in the URL, keywordblah.com/keyword, yet that have a lot of links going to that page, so you don't want to change it? You can do a 301 redirect, Kim. So, you know, if they have like WordPress, a simple way to do that would be install simple 301 redirects, and then just go into simple 301 redirects, and if you have like keywordsite.com/keyword review, you could just do a 301 where you would go into 301 redirects, okay, and you would put this into the first box, and there's the directions there, okay? So this would go in the first box, and then there'll be like, what do you want a 301 it to? And then you would just put like this. You know, this would be in the second box, and you would just take out keyword. All right, so basically, then you would hit save. Then basically, what you're telling it is, I want this page, which is actually this whole thing right here. You just put in the first box without the domain in it, to go to this URL. All right, so all the links that are going right here are now going to get redirected to here. All right, so I mean, the first step would actually be to change the page name. You'd go to the page, take this out, and make sure you make note of the previous URL, and then go into your Simple 301 Redirects plugin, put in this, the old URL, and redirect it to the new URL. And all those links that were going here are now going to go here. And then you're not going to have that keyword twice in the URL anymore. All right, from Peter, if you wanted to target multiple cities for a local SEO company, would you build a subdomain for each city you are targeting and use something like shaker pages to make the content? I mean, that just depends on you know, what the plan is for the site. Like, make sure you have the plan for the site together before you start the site. For example, like if you plan on attacking the whole United States, and you know, I know I'm going to go after state plus city, you would probably want to set up silos where you have state as the silo, and all the cities you want to rank for under it. And, you know, as Cotton said, you can actually use the same content across the whole site and just change the location, because Panda doesn't come into effect with local terms. I've never done it, but Cotton does it, and he said it, you know, it works very well. And everyone out, Jimmy said the same thing, where Panda just doesn't affect local, you know, and there are certain reasons for that they go into. But what you want to do for the content is up to you. But if it were me, I'd probably make silos, you know, if I'm doing a site that big, where I would have the state as the silo and then the cities as the supporting pages or categories. Alright, from Lonnie, I saw a piece of software demo that takes an eZine article and modifies it in some way but reads the same. However, when you run it through Copyscape, it does not come back as duplicate content. Have you ever heard of anything like that, and do you think it would be safe to use such content? I've never heard of it. I don't know exactly what it does, so I can't say. Um, as far as would it be safe, I would have to see exactly what it did. But anything like that, I would probably only use on like maybe tier 2, like if I'm building links to links, something like that. Like Web 2.0 properties that have high domain authority. Probably wouldn't use it for like a money site. But yeah, I mean for like link building stuff, I might use it for that. From Tina, do you have suggestions to maximize the use of each PBN? For example, is it safe to set up a PBN as a business directory so you can link to a local money site? 1, plumbing, local money site 2, home improvement, local money site 3, dentistry. I do that all the time, Tina, where I do a lot of niches in Nashville. I'll set up a Nashville directory and just link to different niches in Nashville. And I said this before, the more themed your PBNs are, the safer it's going to be in the long run. But right now, look, general PBNs that have totally different topics on them are still working extremely well. We've just seen signs where theming might come more into play here in the future, so we're just kind of preparing people and just in case it happens and telling them to theme their PBNs. But look, right now, general PBNs work great, okay? And the more you theme your PBNs, we think the safer you'll be for the future. If you, I think the safest way is to do all like plumber stuff, right? Plumber and blah blah blah, plumber and blah blah blah. Then the next safe was probably to do like what I was just talking about, like a Nashville directory, all Nashville related stuff. The safe way is just stick to one specific topic, but even like like the city directory thing that I was just saying, all Nashville stuff, even if it's like home improvement, plumbing, it's still all about Nashville, so that's still somewhat thematic. So that's kind of like one of those like middle. It's in the middle of a general and a themed, in my opinion. So it all depends on how safe you want to be with that. Alright, we got a long one here. I'm going to let you guys read this. I got to step out for 1 minute. I'll be right back. I'm just going to pause this for a second. I will be right back. Alright, from Lorraine. Greg, with reference to Derek's My Maps training in Cotton's Webby, I have seen it. He creates a map, hits the share key, and then makes the link public. In the training, Derek then copies the URL into a new browser, and the word edit automatically changes to viewer. This indicates the do follow link has been created. When I try this, I'm unable to get my URL to change from edit to viewer. In a new browser, despite logging out of Google, opening a new browser in Safari or Chrome. I've tried incognito deleting cookies in history. The link will not change to viewer when I was opening a separate browser. I mean, it worked for me, Lorraine. I was able to get a result by typing the URL manually into my daughter's iPad. I typed the word viewer manually instead of edit and copying, and it worked. I created a link, however, I cannot do it working from the same computer as in Derek's example. What I'm saying is somehow I think I'm still logged into Google, but I have no idea how. What I am missing. In the top right of Chrome, my picture has now gone, so it appears that I have logged out, but I just can't get the URL link to change like it does for Derek. And I know this is relevant because Derek says open a new browser. You're not looking. I mean, try opening a totally different browser, Lorraine. I mean, if you can manually change it by changing edit to viewer, I mean that works as long as it comes up. You know what I mean? If that's coming up, that's your URL. So as long as you can do it manually, you can do that as well. I mean, it's still there. And you can just do it that way, or just try a totally different browser. That's about all I know about that, Lorraine. All right, from Greg, how do you know if you have permission to use a if you have permission to use a YouTube video? If they can turn off the embed feature, Greg. So if that embed feature is in play, then you're allowed to use it. From Dustin, thanks for answering questions. Oh, thank you, Dustin. I'm getting there. It's just I still have this cough. I've had it for like 2.5 months. It's horrible. Alright, from Bridge, I have a hosting plan with HostGator for unlimited domains. I'm hosting 2 money sites on that. If I host client sites on the same, will it be possible to separate that later or give admin access to a client? You'd probably want to talk to HostGator about that, Bridge. I'm not sure exactly how they work with that. I mean, worst comes to worst, you could copy all the files over to a different server, on a different host if you need to. But I'm not the greatest with like hosting stuff, so you might want to talk to HostGator about that. All right, from Joe, in one Hootsuite account, can you promote multiple feeds in different socials? Yes. Although I haven't done it a ton, I know you can do that. We're getting towards the end of the question, guys, so if you got any more, throw them in. Throw them at me. Alright, from Bridge, if I redirect a site to an affiliate site, will it affect the domain authority or page authority of that site? Yeah. I mean, the links that the site that you're redirecting to are going to be going to the new site. So I mean, it's going to boost the page authority, domain authority. I mean, if you're doing it to boost the page or domain authority, I'd probably do it to the subdomain and make it relevant. For example, if you have like a PBN that was about building or something, or let's say about government, you'd want to make like government as your subdomain .domain.com. That way you keep relevance. Like, you can set up like if you have 3 PBNs that you want to boost a site with, boost the domain authority with, one's about government, one's about phones, one's about chairs. You'd want to do chairs.domain.com and direct the PBN on chairs going to the chairs subdomain, government to government subdomain. That way you're staying relevant. Like Google sees, this site has a chair subdomain, they have chairs links going to it. That's relevance. Here's a government subdomain, has government links going to it. That's relevant, and that kind of just, I think that helps your overall trust to your site. So not only are you boosting your domain authority, but you're kind of like getting your trust to your site up. That's the way I look at it, at least. I've actually never even talked about that before, so I guess that's a new trick that I've never really talked about. I've been kind of playing with it. All right, from Carrie. If you put pages in archive, will they still help to rank a site? If you have pages on menu that are not in archive but don't show to the public on the main menu, does this hurt or help your rankings? I mean, as long as the page is public, it can be ranked. And if it's not in the menu, I wouldn't say it hurts or helps your rankings. It may have more trouble being found, and you would probably want to get some type of interlink going to it. You would want to make sure it's in your inner URL structure somehow. It's being linked to somehow, so it's easier to be found and link juice properly gets passed. But I wouldn't say necessarily like hurts your rankings or helps them. It definitely wouldn't help them. It might hurt them a little bit by losing like some interlinking power there. Fran said change from private to public. Oops, disregard. Alright, cool. We had a few more roll in. Alright, from Brad, I have a client that has tons of low quality over-optimized links. I've submitted disavow and run links through 3 indexing services. How long are you seeing it to take for Google to make an adjustment in the SERPs? You might want to ask that on Network Empire with Jimmy, but I mean, generally, I would say about a month. But it really depends, Brad, on the scope of the problem and all of that. But Jimmy can probably give you a more specific answer on that. He's done so many recoveries. From James, how do you build links to social profiles that are linking to your money website? Do you use GSR? I think you mean GSA. You can use GSA. You can use stuff like Social Explosion. Put the address into a feed, then run the feed through Social Explosion if it has a feed. Um, you can do Web 2.0s. You can do PBNs. I mean, you can pretty much do anything. If you're using something like GSA, just be careful with the anchor text. What I'm seeing ranking very well right now is like if you're doing like something like GSA where it's going to be a lot of links, use mostly branded and generic anchor text with just a little bit of keyword. All right, so don't go too deep into the keywords. Like mainly what you're doing is you're boosting the domain authority of that social property or the page authority. Boosting the trust there, and then you have a couple keyword optimized anchor text in there to help identify, what that page is about. And that's kind of all you need, and that's working very well right now. Whereas on the other end, James, if I'm using a PBN, I'm probably going after keyword right away because it's a little different when you just have a couple links. But if you're sending a whole bunch of links with GSA, go do what I just told you, where you're doing mostly branded and generic anchor text, and then just a little bit of keyword optimized. From Christina, in the DAS training, Jimmy says something referring to different clusters. I think that was the word he used. Does that mean all different social accounts, personas, or what? I'll probably let Jimmy to explain what a cluster is, but he's just talking about like more layers, more stuff linking to more stuff. It just goes deeper. Like that model he has that gives an example. He can add a whole bunch of stuff onto that, and that would be another cluster. You know what I mean? Like different, whole bunch more stuff linking to that stuff. That's a whole nother cluster in a way. From Tina, can you recommend an economical writer or content provider for money sites? Thanks for your time today. Feel better soon. Thank you, Tina. You can check in the Facebook group, or you can always use something like Content Authority or iWriter or something like that, and just do the highest quality writers, and just like you can deny articles and say like this is not what I'm looking for. I expect a better article out of someone, and then once you find someone that's good, you can hold on to them. Like you can keep that writer's name, and then whenever you have a new project, you submit it to that writer specifically. Or of course, again, you can check in the Facebook group if anyone wants to write for you. What is the best plugin for 301 redirects? I mean, I use simple 301 redirects, Dan. They pretty much all do the same thing, but that's easy to use. From Christina, he said he needed 12 to rank really hard keywords. Yeah, I mean, again, he's just going deeper into the DAS. More properties, linking to more properties, Christina. From Tim, did I just hear you say that you were creating subs on your PBNs with specific keywords and increased relevance? No, what I said is I was creating subdomains on my money sites with relevance to the PBN. So if I had let's say I have, and again, I'm still testing this. So far, it's going very well. When I have more concrete evidence, I'll probably release a video on it. But for right now, it's going well. So if you have moneysite.com, you're trying to boost the domain authority, and let's say you got a PBN 1 is on government stuff. You know what I mean? PBN 2 maybe is on biking. Like some biking event. Maybe PBN 3 is on some type of charity. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm setting up like for money site, I'll set up a subdomain that's like, and I might even set up as like the PBN name if there's a lot of branded anchor text. I'm just trying to make sure it's relevant. So if there's like a lot of anchor text that says like government, or maybe the domain has government in it, something like that, I'm going to set up government.moneysite.com, and then I'm going to 301 redirect this PBN to this subdomain. Okay? And for the content, I mean, again, guys, this is still something I'm testing with, so I don't want people to necessarily go out and do it and think it's going to work great. So far it's working good for me, but just a word of kind of caution there. What I'm doing is and again, this is a little bit black hat because when you get a PBN, you actually don't get the old content with it. But I'll just throw this PBN in archive.org, and I'll use the old homepage content, throw it up on the subdomain, and then I redirect this to the subdomain. All right, and then again, you got all government type links going to a government subdomain on your money site, and that not only does it boost your domain authority by boosting that subdomain, but it also creates relevance. You got relevant links going to a relevant subdomain. And then I'll create, biking.moneysite.com, and then I put up the old content for this biking PBN on this money site, or I'm sorry, on this subdomain of the money site, and then I 301 PBN2 to this URL. All right. Then again, you're boosting your domain authority more because you got links coming into a subdomain, which boost up your money site. Anything you do a subdomain is going to boost up your main site. And it's also relevant. You got biking type links going to a biking type subdomain. That's relevance. Even if it's a different topic, that's still staying relevant. For a biking URL, you got biking links, and I think that's helping. That's kind of like a trust factor. Relevant links going to a relevant subdomain. So instead of sending up just like generic stuff like sub1.moneysite.com, why not make it relevant to what the links are that you're having? It can only help. You know what I mean? So that's what I was talking about there. But again, this is still something I'm testing with. So far, it's working well. I'll let you guys know more when I test more with it. We're always testing new stuff, by the way. So we're always doing stuff like that. Oh, we had a ton of questions come in. Holy smokes. Alright, from Jeff, I've just put up a subdomain on a client site to use as a blog. Should I get some age before I start doing Social Explosion or other type software? Also, it boosts the page. Does that domain authority transfer to the main domain? And is it okay to link from subdomain to main domain just in case the domain gets penalized? With Social Explosion, you can put it up right away, Jeff. Set up subdomain, put up Social Explosion with vKraken. Let vKraken run. Social Explosion will go to those vKraken posts, and that will boost your domain authority. From Linda, I have potentially new client who's an established site, lots of pages and good content, but was negative SEO backlinks from Russia. Was going to offer to do some DAS, PBNs, Google Plus Biz page, and RSS from Cut to get her rankings back. It could work, Linda, boosting the trust of the site, but you also may need to do some disavowing. I would need to see that site to know more. But I mean, what you can do is you can start with all that stuff like DAS, PBNs, Google Biz Page, RSS, and see if it brings her back. See if those good links overcome the bad links. And if it doesn't, then you're going to have to go to disavow. From Christopher, for a while now, my website has been stuck on the 4th and 5th pages of Google for City SEO and SEO City. Before I read any more, that's usually a common sign of over-optimization, Christopher. I do rank number 2 for City SEO Expert and SEO Expert City. The main keywords I'm going for do appear on the page at least once. Can you think of anything off the top of your head? So why I might be stuck for those major terms but ranking well for the expert terms? The site has been live now for 4 to 5 months. Yeah, again, really check your over-optimization for City SEO. Because, I mean, usually page 4 or 5 is a sign of over-optimization if you get stuck there. From Carrie, do hyperlinks that are not highlighted on a page bother Google? Let's say you just want them to be a normal black text color, as there are links to authority pages like Wikipedia, and you don't really want them to stand out to people. Does it look funny sometimes on a local site, and you don't want people clicking on them taking away from your site? No, I don't think that makes a difference, Carrie. Who is a recovery expert? Is there specific training in Project J or Director Scott? Jimmy Kelly. He actually has a course on it, Linda. I think it's a separate course, but you can look into that if you'd like. From Dave, if you were trying to build a lead gen site, citydivorcelawyer.com, and you also wanted to try to build citations, would you use the virtual office address if you don't live in that city? If so, any recommendations for an inexpensive virtual office provider? We have videos on this, Dave, in the training from Joe Marfaglio. I've used virtual offices, and I've also done his mail forwarding trick. You can learn more about that in his videos. He's very good with that stuff. From Jerry, I'm new at SEO. I have someone who wants me to rank their site in local. Their website is being built and not ready. Should I build the citations with a web address, or should I wait until a website is live? I mean, if there's no live website at all, you might want to wait. Um, or at least like know that by the time the citations are up, that they'll at least have some content up. I mean, that would be my opinion on it, or my preference. Like if it was my client. All right, from Greg. Come on, Zoom. MySite.com. Domain solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 supporting pages for. I mean the proper. It would be moneysite.com / silo is here / category is here / supporting page is here. I believe that's how they have it laid out. I'm pretty sure that's the structure of how they do it. You're welcome, Christina. From Lorraine, Fran was talking to me, rechanging from private to public. I've changed from private to public. Try to open different browsers. This training is pretty easy to follow, so copying and pasting shouldn't be a problem. She's just talking about Derek's trick here, so I'm just going to read this to myself. Yeah, I mean, again, just try a different browser. If not, just change the word, Lorraine. And as long as it's coming up, it doesn't matter. Jane was the best way to increase domain authority from 50 to 60. I mean, going from 50 to 60 is a lot different going from 0 to 10. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, Jane. But the easiest would probably just being boosting up subdomains, using subdomain tricks. From Christopher, do you have a link from government.moneysite.com to moneysite.com? No, I don't. I keep them totally separate link-wise, Christopher, at least for now. I might play with that. Talk to Jimmy on some strategy for that, but for now, no. I'm just using it to kind of boost the domain authority. I guess what I'm asking is what page is my product found on? It depends how deep your product goes, Greg. Yeah, I mean, it really depends, Greg, on how deep you're going into the silo and how it's set up. I would have to see a specific example. From Carrie, if I have to get a new client for a lead gen site but have the citations using existing client's brand and name, can I change the citation name and phone address and still keep the rankings? And how about the branded anchor text that goes to the site? Do I take these off and replace them or is this all waste time? Thanks, Greg. This is awesome. Get well soon. You have a new client for a lead gen site. Oh, I see what you're saying. You might want to talk to Cotton about that. He might tell you to use like Yext suppression or half local recovery, where you can change all that from like one location, or he might tell you to use Moz local. It's $84 a year. What happens is when you change the 5 main aggregators, when you change your citations for that, it will change across most of the other ones because they kind of pull their data from those 5 main aggregators. So it might work like if you change that, like probably the easiest would be sign up for Moz local and change it in there. But having a totally different business name and all of that, I'm not positive about. So I would maybe check with Cotton on that to make sure, Carrie. Because he's probably gone through that before and I haven't. So I just want to make sure you get the right answer there. Alright, so I'm going to take this one last screenshot. Get these last questions in. I actually got to shoot some videos after this. Hey, we got some more stuff coming for you guys. Alright, from Christopher, little tease there. Hey Greg, with regards to a penguin penalty, do all keywords that were ranking drop from the top 10 in the SERPs to 150 to 200? Happened around the end of October last year, or could it have been something else? It's an EMD. I mean, to get the definite answer, Christopher, I would have to like see the site and see, you know, anchor text and all that type of stuff. But I mean, what you can do is you can go Google, um, go to like the Google change history in Moz, and you said it was around October of last year. If you're talking about this October, you know, there was a change that happened here. You'd want to look at all these changes that happen around here and kind of see if you can match it up with when it happened. Like, you know, did it happen within 2 weeks of this? If so, it's probably penguin related. But also, it depends on how your site's laid out, like how many links it has, what your anchor text looks like, and all that. I mean, usually you can kind of fit that in with these changes here and know what's going on. And Jimmy actually tracks like specific stuff, like he can actually probably tell you, like, if it moved down 150 spots for most of your keywords, he can usually tell you what update, like whether it's panda or penguin related. My guess from what you're saying would be penguin. Um, but again, I don't know the site, so I can't say for sure. You know, I don't know the details on it. And hold on 1 second, I'm frozen here. Come on. Alright. You guys can't see this box, but it's stuck for me. Give me 1 minute here. Alright, looks like the question box is frozen, so I'm just going to have to... You guys can't see it again, but it's frozen for me. So I'm going to go to Jeff's question here. On my previous subdomain question, I was also wanting to know what happens if a subdomain gets penalized, and if so, does that penalty pass to a main domain? So should I... there we go, finally moved. So should I not link from sub to main just in case? That's why I'm not linking, Jeff. If the subdomain gets penalized and you're not linking to the main domain, it's not going to get penalized. I mean, just think of this like Weebly, okay? You know, they have people that they go out and create tons of subdomains, and that's what they do. They're kind of giving subdomains for people who sign up. If every Weebly page that got penalized the main domain, they'd be screwed. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of why subdomains don't pass penalties on to the home page. But I believe if you're linking up to the home page and gets penalized, then it can pass it. So yeah, that's why I'm not linking right now. I'm going to talk to Jimmy more about that, how I can possibly get around that with linking to the main page, or if it would even help. And I'll you know, brainstorm with Jimmy on that. But for now, no, I'm not linking up, and that's why. But you know, if for some reason like you sent a penalized PBN, you didn't realize it to that subdomain, it's not going to affect your main domain. And that those are two separate domains in a way. But again, if it's linking, you know, just like if you have a PBN that's penalized and it links to your main domain, it could hurt it. But no, subdomain will not pass as long as it's not linking. From Tim, you stated that page 4 or 5 is a sign of over-optimization. What if you have 7 or 8 terms stuck in position 11 to 15 for several weeks? Over-optimization? No, not necessarily, Tim. It depends on how old the site is and how competitive and all that stuff. In that case, sometimes it can be just, I've noticed, like a trust issue. Like, for example, I used to have some sites that were stuck around there, and even a little higher, like spots 8, 9, 10. And it was like I was sending the same strength PBNs to them, which is like kind of like the same trust over and over again. So it's like I almost needed more trust in my links to come up. So it could be that where you maybe need to use some DAS to your links that you currently have going to your site to kind of boost that trust up. That could be one thing, or it could just be a waiting period. Google, like, I think they play some games sometimes where they'll put, because I'll see specific niches that literally there is no movement for a month. Like, no matter what you do, just nothing moves. Like, it's all the same sites in the same spots. And it's almost like they do that on purpose sometimes, I think. So I think it really depends on, what type of site it is, and how competitive and all that. But one thing that could definitely raise it, Tim, is boosting up the trust of your links you currently have. So, sending some DAS to those links you currently have. From Andy, when I put a client's website in SEMrush, it shows spam links. When I put it in OpenSite Explorer, those links do come up. Where are they getting different results? They're different aggregators, Andy. So they're going to pull different information. They're just different tools. Yeah, OpenSite Explorer usually only shows the higher quality links, whereas other tools, usually show a lot more. So, just different aggregators. I was just making sure there's no more questions, and there wasn't. Alright, cool. So it looks like we're all good here, guys. I'll get a recording up of this one. Again, I got some videos to shoot today. Kind of working on some stuff for you guys. And then my next session, this was actually director's cut. So I'll probably do another director's cut session, maybe not next week because I got a competition. Maybe 2 weeks from now. And then I have my regular coaching on Monday night if you're a part of Breakthrough. Alright? Alright, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I will see you all on the next webinar.